Hi everyone, it's JG here with Earth 5D University, back for another teaching where you are the light, the path, and the way forward, friends. It's all inside of you. You have the truth, your truth inside of you, and that truth is what does set you free. It's that truth that helps you to rise above out of the fog, as they say, rise above out of the fog of unconsciousness. The sleepiness, the heaviness, the drowsiness, right? Not being able to see clearly. So really what we're looking for when we are spiritually growing is clarity, right? Clarity of oneself, self-knowledge, self-understanding. So I've missed you all. It's been a hot minute since I've been on camera talking about spiritual topics, right? Talking about the 5D. So there's a lot to talk about, but really what I wanted to bring forth here is a message for the empaths. So many of you are out there, right? So many of you are resonating as an empath, someone who deeply, deeply feels emotions of others, deeply, deeply feels for yourself, right? And you want nothing more than to use your tender heart as a guide, right? To help other people, especially the people you love. So really what I want to talk about today is learning how to set boundaries to keep yourself and your energy safe. One of the empath's biggest kryptonite, you guys know Superman's story, his biggest nemesis is kryptonite, and it paralyzes him. And so I feel like for an empath, their biggest kryptonite, their biggest nemesis is leaking energy. So why does an empath leak energy? Because an empath is constantly feeling the feelings of others and the surroundings of others, and you just want to give greatly with your big hearts, right? And many times empaths grew up in families where they wanted to keep the peace, or they had to keep the peace. That was their job within the family. Their job was to keep the peace within the family. And so what that often came with was a very overwhelming responsibility to sort of manage everybody's feelings, right? If I just keep everyone feeling okay, then I'm gonna be all right, and the family's gonna be all right, and be safe as a child. The issue though with that as an adult is those mechanisms that we use to keep ourselves safe as a child, they backfire, right? They begin to backfire if we don't learn to evolve within them. Okay, we learn to evolve in this life. We learn to use our tools in new ways. That is spiritual growth, is using our tools in new ways, using our gifts and taking them to the next level. So we don't just learn to have, we don't just learn about our gifts and just leave them there dormant, right? It's an evolution of consciousness as we grow. And so it has been on my heart to help you understand how to stop your energy from leaking, how to stop your energy from being sucked by not setting boundaries, not being able to set boundaries, because had you set boundaries as a child, there would be a good chance that they wouldn't be accepted. And so we don't even bother doing that as a child. We don't know how to do that. It's a skill that we often don't learn as an empath because we have big, huge heart and we just want to love unconditionally. But loving unconditionally does not equal self-sacrifice. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is that loving unconditionally doesn't equal self-sacrifice, right? Loving well is what we want to achieve as an empath. How do we love well? And loving well doesn't mean that there are no boundaries, or that there are no gates, and that there's no accountability. Because if you don't have boundaries within a relationship and you only self-sacrifice because you're an empath and you just want to give unconditional love, what happens is the other person is never held to any kind of accountability, and they don't learn how to be responsible in the relationship. When they don't learn to be responsible within the relationship, then they don't get an opportunity to grow and mature themselves. if getting away with bad behavior that upsets you as a person, right, that doesn't work for you as a person, or that doesn't lead to you feeling respect for yourself, accepting behavior from the other person that is disrespectful to you, doesn't help the other person to evolve and grow. It just leaves everybody in a situation where you are overgiving, you are compensating for the other person, and the other person isn't being held responsible, and they're not able to have the opportunity to grow. And also, you're also saying that subconsciously too, that maybe you don't believe they can handle that growth, right? And that's accidental, right? You just want to make it all better. So I'm talking about adult relationships, right? I'm talking about setting boundaries within adult relationships, and even setting boundaries with your children. This is necessary. Okay, so what we've been taught in our culture is if we set a boundary, we feel guilty because we are supposed to love unconditionally, right? If you set a boundary like, no, children, I don't want you to stay up all night because that wakes me up and it disrupts my sleep. And when I don't sleep well, I don't feel good. And I have trouble parenting because my mind isn't clear because I'm not getting enough sleep, for instance. That's one example. You could easily just try to compensate and like, oh, I'll just wear my earphones, or I'll just compensate, or I will sacrifice my sleep rather than setting the boundary and the rule. And so also, if you've spent many years not having boundaries, it's even harder, right? Because no one expects you to do it. So they're like, oh my God, what's going on? There's a boundary here, right? And so it's really important, friends, to know yourself and get comfortable setting boundaries with your family. In this example I'm giving, it's, hey, everyone's in bed by 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And if you're not in bed by 10 or 11, you need to be quiet so I can sleep, right? Or X, Y, and Z. If this is happening in your life and it's not working for you, let's say you have a partner that's verbally abusive when you're arguing, and they tend to name call, like you don't know what you're talking about, or they call you a literal name and they dismiss your feelings, So often as an empath, we just like take it, right? We just take that and we're like, all right, this is the way this person communicates, so I will, quote unquote, stoop to their level and I will meet this person where they are. But what I'm saying now is that you can have people raise the bar to where you are, friends. You don't have to cave and just give unconditionally. You do not have to sacrifice yourself. It's important to begin to rethink that loving well does not equal self-sacrifice. Loving well means teaching the other party to be responsible and for you to have gates. Okay, so if someone is talking to you in a way that you don't like, it is perfectly acceptable to say, I am not comfortable talking in this way. I feel like you are insulting me, disrespecting me, and so let's talk when you aren't able to talk to me respectfully. That's a boundary. Okay, so it's also catching yourself. It's also being willing to be mature. It's also being willing to stand in your power and say, hey, I am worthy of my own self-respect here. I'm worthy to care for myself with accountability in a love relationship. So I'm not just giving away the farm. And young girls who are out there, young men that are out there, and you're just starting into romantic relationships, right? And you just haven't had 20 or 30 years of experience. It's really important in the beginning to notice, are people comfortable with my boundaries? It's normal to set healthy boundaries and gates and accountability. And it's okay to not have to give yourself away and be a martyr. Okay, it's okay to not have to go into martyrdom to be in a loving relationship. In fact, it's very, very lopsided, right? Then it's just you giving and the other person taking, not being responsible, and then thereby not growing either. So it's important, friends. I'll say it one more time. Loving well does not mean self-sacrifice. Loving well means stating your boundaries. Loving well means teaching people how to treat you. And it's not you're punishing other person with a boundary, you're just teaching them how to interact with you in a way that feels safe to you. All right, so if you need help doing that in your own life, I do offer coaching, offer tarot readings on my other channel, Earth 5D Consciousness, and it's so wonderful to be with you, to have you here today, and I'm sending you so much love and light.